many different ways. Highly respected all over Europe. Probably, like me, a little bit controversial, but that's okay. People came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
That's former President Donald Trump in 2019, heaping praise on Hungary's far-right leader Viktor Orban. And then the year before, defending Russian President Vladimir Putin over his own intelligence officials in a response to a question that I asked him in Helsinki. Now, since entering politics, Trump has channeled authoritarian leaders of the past and present, this time and time again, but how effective has it been? Joining us now is Marcel Danesi. He is a professor of Semiotics and Linguistic Anthropology at the University of Toronto, and the author of the recent book, which has this title, Politics, Lies, and Conspiracy Theories, a Cognitive Linguistic Perspective. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us this morning. So tell us what you found here and this sort of draw. We know that Trump likes to channel these strongman leaders. Tell us why you think it's been effective here in the United States.
There are various theories of how language affects the brain. One of these is that even a single word can shape thoughts and beliefs. I'll give you a simple anecdotal example and then connect it to the larger frame of how language works. If I were to ask you or give you a biscuit and you tasted it and said, tastes very good. So far, your taste or gustatory reaction and your mental frame for that biscuit is positive. Then I would reveal to you, it's a dog biscuit. What would happen to that reaction and to that taste? It would change. What happened? Was it the biscuit? No, it was the word which connected the concept of biscuit and dog to a larger frame of how we perceive, interpret the world. Now, imagine having words like parasite or animal or dog, and then blame someone for being that way, for being a dog or what have you. Why is it effective? Because it's part of a conceptual metaphor that says people are animals. The great liar, as Machiavelli once wrote in his Prince, is able to take that substratum and twist it for whatever purpose, manipulative purpose that they want.
Professor Maragay here from the New York Times. What is it that makes some people susceptible and able to hear and resonate with this kind of language, while others don't respond to it or respond to it quite differently at the same time?
That's a question that I wish I really could answer. What I found in looking at history and looking at how, experiments with malicious language, such as Hitler's Germany and Stalin's Russia, is that they're able to tap into a historical formula that a lot of people respond to. Simple example is the idea of a cabal behind the scenes. You can call it a deep state, you can call it whatever you like. If your belief that there is such a cabal or such a deep state is strong, but dormant, all you need is a great manipulator of that theory, of that conspiracy theory, bringing it out into the open and then making you connect the dots, which psychologists call hypophenia, and you've got a large group of people. Once it enters into groupthink, then it can become a very dangerous movement. Fascism, Nazism, and so on.
So, Professor, that's a really fascinating claim. So language is also social, right? So it has a history. There's this reservoir meaning that we all trade upon. So it's not just simply the figure, Donald Trump say, or Orban say, it's this stuff that's in the very way in which we describe our world. So talk a little bit more about what the authoritarian figure is activating, these conceptual schemes that they're activating in some ways for their own political and sometimes nefarious purposes.
The system is below the surface. It's unconscious. It's below the threshold of understanding. So when someone like Donald Trump refers to the deep state, there is something in the history of America, something in the history of other areas of the world that resonates. The ones that have been most attacked for being behind the scenes, of course, are the Jews, and anti-Semitism reverberates when you bring up the idea that they are behind some pattern or some system that we see before us, which has to be interpreted. The idea is that who controls meaning controls the mind. And if the mind is a part of a social system, then it becomes part of a groupthink, and then you have a serious problem.
Professor Sam Stein here. I'm sure you've encountered this too, but I have on a couple occasions where you talk to people who have gone down the conspiracy theory rabbit holes. So, for instance, people who are firm believers in QAnon, and you try reasoning with them about why their worldview is based on a series of misconceptions or lies, and it doesn't work. And I'm wondering, in your studies, what have you discovered about trying to pierce that conspiracy bubble? Are there certain ways that you can do it to reach the people who have succumbed to these conspiracy theories? Are there methods that can be used that people who want to reach this universe and tell them, look, what you're believing is false or wrong or potentially harmful is essentially false?
I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an advisor. I'm a linguist. However, I call it the DaVinci Code effect. I'm referring to that novel by Dan Brown in 2001, where he generates a huge conspiracy about, the history of Christ. And how does he do it? He takes little bits and pieces of history, puts them together, cites texts like the Priory of Sion and so on, and all of a sudden you're saying, well, it's gotta be true because we put it together. The reason is that our brain has a narrative structure. From childhood, we listen to stories, and stories become believable if we listen to them over and over, even if they're mythological stories, Santa Claus, for example. And this happens all the time. We have a brain that is embedded in myth. And when these myths, and I don't mean myth in a negative sense, I mean stories which we ascribe to a larger, system of meaning that's out there that we tap into through our language. Once that happens, it's that switch, that DaVinci Code switch is on. It's so difficult to turn it off. History teaches us, though, that eventually the brain recalibrates itself, that over time, truth does prevail. It's not a cliche, because the brain and the circuitry of the brain is made in such a way that it gleans from language what it needs for a while. Then after a time, the dissonance that occurs, what psychologists call cognitive dissonance, does dissipate. But it's so difficult to change someone's mind who is really hardwired to believe a conspiracy.
A fascinating conversation here. The new book is titled Politics, Lies, and Conspiracy Theories, a Cognitive Linguistic Perspective. And Professor of Linguistic Anthropology at the University of Toronto, Marcel Danesi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. The professor also has an accompanying piece in Politico magazine titled What Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and Viktor Orban Understand About Your Brain.